Я готовий представити наступного спікера. Тут же вам знадобляться навушники, якщо ви хочете слухати українську мову, якщо ж англійську, то навушників не потрібно. Тому що наступний джентльмен приїхав до нас для того, щоб розповісти дещо цікаве, я впевнений, і це буде пізнавально. Отже, зустрічайте проектний менеджер, архітектор та урбаніст проектувального бюро ORG, Брюссель, Нью-Йорк та Антверпен. Під ваші бурхливі аплодисменти на цій сцені Генрік Блум. Ваші опуски. Mr. Henrik, welcome to Ukraine. So please.
Thanks so much. Yes. Sorry, the presentation went a bit faster than I intended. Good evening, everyone. As the person already said, my name is Hendrik Bloem. I'm an architect and urbanist from Brussels, a company called ORG. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here and for, let's say, welcoming us in your community here in Lutsk. It's the second time I'm visiting the city for the Urban Vision Lutsk project. And it's been like a really fantastic and great experience. So thanks to Algorytm, thanks to Urban Reform, but thanks also for everyone in Lutsk for welcoming us and being such a great city. Thank you. We work with Urban Reform on this Urban Vision for Lutsk. They have been working on this for quite some time already. You can see the books on the desk over there. But then they invited us also to join their team and work on, let's say, the second phase or the next step for this urban vision. So this is the first phase of the urban vision, which had like a lot of different ideas, a lot of different ambitions and targets for the city. There's a lot of work to do. As I said, Lutsk is a great city, but there's still also a lot of work to do. So when we received this list from the Urban Reform team and Algorytm, so like where do we start? There's so many great ambitions. There's so much to do. So we did a few conversations, interviews with people, discussions, workshops, and we decided to first focus on a few key areas where we think we could make potentially the biggest impact in the development of the city. I'm not sure if the slide is completely readable, but it's about first of all about the economy, creating the ecosystem of companies, creative arts, of creative industries, arts, entrepreneurship in Lutsk, which is of course one of the main missions of Algorytm, and then working on public spaces, green spaces in the city of Lutsk. Yes. Quickly about economy, because I think this event was announced as an event and a workshop about public space and urban development, but we think it's important also to address this topic because they really go together. And in the development of a city, there's of course always many different things that are important, and we think developing the economy is one of the important things to work on. So what we're trying to do is to create a sort of an ecosystem of companies, an ecosystem of economic activities in the city that can have a very wide range of different companies. Why we're doing this, you see, you can read a few things on the slide, but it's also to help Lutsk and Ukraine in general to redevelop and to rebuild the city and the arts and the cultures. And of course also to integrate the economy of Ukraine into the rest of Europe. So this is an example of a similar exercise we did in Antwerp, in Belgium, where we mapped all the different companies that were working in a certain field and then tried to make connections between these companies and see where they could make each other stronger to develop the economy. And that's what we call the sort of ecosystem. So it's a sort of self-strengthening system of companies, initiatives that will help to improve life in the city in general, let's say. And as I said, it's very important also to work on this because it can tap into like many bigger programs that are running from EU or from UN agencies or others that could actually also give like a big boost in the development of the city. Another part, we had a workshop yesterday with a lot of experts. Another important thing for this is also work on infrastructure, accessibility of the city. Also there, these are a few quotes from studies looking into these topics. Working on infrastructure, railways, roads is also very important to develop the economy because again, it creates connections, it makes people meet, it makes, of course, also able for people to come to Lutsk or for other people to go to Europe and again make this integration inside Ukraine, but also Ukraine in Europe. These are a few maps. I'm not going to in the detail right now, but you see on these maps that Lutsk, let's say we can work on the accessibility of Lutsk and the mobility to reach Lutsk, and that's one of the areas we want to focus on also in the next steps for the project. And then I'm making a little bridge to the public spaces. If you want to develop your economy, you also need people to work on this. You need people with talents, with skills to work in these companies. And how do you make a city where people are happy to come to and can also stay there, or want to stay there, or want to be there? And that's more than just a job, but it's also a general quality of life in the city. And for that part, public spaces are very important. And so that's why we choose to work on these two topics for the next step of Urban Vision Lutsk. That is sort of general quality of life through urban space and the economy. And so what do we mean with these urban spaces? That there is a few key areas you really have to focus on if you want to develop this, and also to serve, let's say, as a template also for other cities that need reconstruction, for rebuilding later. And so in that sense, Lutsk can also be sort of a test area for other cities in Ukraine, where we can test novel ideas and new ideas. Of course, accessibility, inclusivity is a very big topic. We had a walk around the city this afternoon, and we also saw that people are sort of trying to find improvised solutions for this, but it has to be like integrated systematically in the public spaces. Climate change is another very important one. I think many of you know a few days ago, or in central parts of Europe, there were heavy problems with rains, with flooding. And so adapting your city to this sort of problems and this sort of new reality of the climate is a very important topic as well. And then again, the link with the economy and providing spaces like where we are here today, space where people can meet, can interact, can share ideas. You have to create an environment, create a space for that. So that's also a role that's important for the public space. This is a map of the city, only showing the green space. And actually, when you look at what the WHO, so the World Health Organization, recommends for green space in the city in order for people to be healthy and happy, they recommend an average of 9 square meters or 9.5 square meters per person in a healthy city, let's say. If you make that calculation for Lutsk, you see it's actually 39 square meters of green space per person, which is a lot more. And so that's an important quality that Lutsk has, and that we should use in the development of the city, and try not to lose it as we go, because it's really something unique you have here, and that we should use as sort of a main feature in the development of the city. And this is a diagram I took from Urban Vision Lutsk Phase 1. You have this unique condition. You can also see it in the model. Have the two rivers crossing and bringing like green structures right through the city that not only are green, but also have like important ecological value. And can help you with addressing a lot of these issues I showed on one of the previous slides. And it can also, in general, become like a strong figure, a central figure of the city, like the main public space. Maybe shouldn't be a square or a road, but maybe the main public space in Lutsk in the end should become this green ring, this green circle. You know what this looks like. We are still really amazed by this. This is a picture of the Sapalivka River, not too far from here, where you really have this sort of almost a natural park in the middle of the city, which is something really special we should try to preserve. And to explore these ideas a bit more, We worked, let's say, on 2 different tracks. We worked on 6 case studies, 6 crucial key public spaces in Lutsk that we made a few designs for, or let's say proposals. You can also see them on the wall in the back on these different panels. And this will be also the topic of the workshop later tonight, where we invite every one of you to share your ideas and insights on what to do and how to develop these areas. But that's just one specific site or one specific case. But we, at the same time, we work on what we call a toolbox or a manual, which has, let's say, general principles and typologies for public spaces, key design strategies for public spaces that you can also apply in other areas in the city in order to preserve the qualities or add the qualities we want to add. These are the 6 areas we worked on. And here something went wrong with the images, but you can see them printed on the wall. This is just a set, let's say, of general design principles, like best practices on how to achieve the quality that we want to achieve and how to address the problems that I mentioned on the slide with the 4 pictures. Just going quickly through a few of these examples. It's a bit too bad that you cannot really see it, but this is. Or what this should show, let's say, is principles about accessibility, how to design ramps, how to design squares and streets in a way that they are accessible and usable for people with disabilities, whether it's they're in a wheelchair or they're blind or deaf or whatever it can be, but that also these people are part of your great community and can use the public space the same way anyone else does. So that's going to be one of the chapters in this toolbox. We also look at, let's say, gradual design strategies, because doing a square costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time, but small interventions, you can also gradually sort of step up and build that public space the way you want. You can even start thinking about integrating shelters and safe spaces in public space in a way that they're nicely integrated. Another important thing that we noticed also on our walk this afternoon is a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the squares, the roads, the boulevards are like really overdimensioned, they're really oversized. There's a lot of sort of excess asphalt and concrete and paving. And by cleverly, let's say, rethinking that system, you can also free up space where you can add green to address climate or for climate mitigation measures or anything else it could be. And then this another example that I took from a project we did in Brussels previous, also a public space manual, that there shouldn't always be a conflict between green and infrastructure, but the drawing over there actually shows that it's if you think about making green connections, you think in 3D. What's very important is the soil, what happens below the surface, and the canopy, what happens above. And if you do that in a clever way, you can actually have a continuous ecosystem and integrating this infrastructure. And so working on these roads shouldn't mean that there is a conflict between the green and the roads, but you can nicely integrate it and keep the ecological value of that space. And then a last example is about the rivers, the big rivers you have here in the city. We have our office in Brussels along the canal, for those who have been there, and they completely mistreated the riverbanks. It's a long, straight sort of canal, and you cannot even see that there is actually water if you don't know it. And so by designing the riverbanks properly and make sure you always have connection with the water, you allow for ecological spaces, then you can avoid the big mistake that we actually made previously in Brussels. Just one example, but I think in the case studies and with the model we can go much more in detail. This is the kids' playground with the station and the river. And in order to achieve this, I know there's many ideas for this area, for the old factory, for the playground, for the railway. So by applying these tools and these principles in a clever way, you can develop it and achieve the sort of same quality that, for instance, Westergasfabriek in Amsterdam has, where you cleverly combine the water, the green, and development at the same time. Same for integrating bike lanes or pathways for pedestrians. Again, by having it slightly raised, think about accessibility with benches. You merge the ecological value and, let's say, the functional addition of the bike lane in a way that everything coexists in a nice way, and you don't sort of colonize the green space completely, but it's one coherent whole. And the same thing for crossing the river, for instance. This is a striking example of the staircase along the Zapalivka, which is today not or completely not accessible for people with problems. There is examples all over the world of how you can integrate ramps and benches for people that need or cannot take a staircase and walk over a railway and over a bridge, etc. But that also these people can use it in a nice way. So this toolbox will actually provide a lot of sort of general guidelines of how to do this in an appropriate way. And this is the last slide. So everything you see on the panels in the back are actually exercises, let's say, to apply this sort of ideas on these 6 public spaces I showed. And how these the sort of future projections of how these spaces could develop in the future. And we're very curious to hear your feedback and input on whatever we showed there on the panel. Thank you. Дякую.
Thank you very much. Дякуємо. Ваші аплодисменти. Так, я хотів запитати містер Генрік, what Ukrainian national dish do you try here in Ukraine? Yeah, maybe borscht or vareniki, cutlets and potatoes. Yeah, you should try also vareniki. Окей, ваші аплодисменти. Дякую.